response, which is all about how quiet sounds can help you relax or focus. And to do that today, I'm going to be reading some extracts from our book, Funny You Should Ask, which is full of questions like, can you fill up a black hole? Or how much water does it take to put out the sun? Or why do dads make such bad jokes? And I think it sounds pretty good too. So let's jump right in, and we'll start with the first passage. Why do I find rain relaxing, but a dripping tap infuriating? Our brains interpret new noises as either threats or non-threats, so that we either jump in preparation for action or relax. Humans, like other mammals, are hardwired to react to sudden sounds that come out of nowhere, even when they're not very loud, because they could mean bad news, from an insect sting to the threat of being hit by a car. They trigger a response from something called the threat-activated vigilance system. Watery sounds, like the pitter-patter of rain or a babbling brook, are non-threatening, so after a split second, our brain allows us to drop our defences. The sound of rain can also act like a form of white noise, masking other noises that we would otherwise find irritating. The sound of a dripping tap should theoretically provide the same level of relaxation as other watery sounds, but the problem comes from the gaps in between. The first plop jolts you into defence mode, but by the time your brain has become used to it, another one falls, causing you to go back on high alert. Interestingly, the sound of a tap dripping into a bucket isn't caused by the droplets hitting the water, but by a bubble of air forming under the drip as it hits the water surface. So you can put a stop to the sound by squirting some washing up liquid into the water, which changes the surface tension and stops the bubble from forming. At least that will keep you sane until the plumber arrives. Our next question is, dogs are man's best friend, but do other animals have friends? Interspecies relationships are very rare, except in a domestic setting. Think of a cat and a dog snuggled together. But some animals do form social bonds, what we call friendship, with other members of the same species. Chimpanzees, like people, choose chimpanzee friends that have similar personalities to their own. Extroverts spend time with other extroverts, and shy chimps hang out with other shy chimps. They trust their friends more than they trust strangers. Vampire bats form friendships that can last for decades. They begin by grooming each other, and later, once they trust each other, they will share a meal, with one regurgitating blood to feed the other. Some animals that live in groups spend more time with the same small clique than they do with other members of the group, just like we do. We're not necessarily friends with everyone at work or in our classroom. Cows live in herds, but have another cow that they like to eat hay with, and they become stressed if they're separated. Garter snakes form a gang with a few others to whom they stay physically close. Flamingos have best friends that they keep for years and with whom they spend all their time in the flock. But they also seem to have enemies, or at least some birds that they don't get on with and avoid. An important aspect of friendship is empathy. understand how they feel and try to do something about it. Elephants also show empathy, caressing an upset elephant with their trunk while making small chirruping noises, while ravens console their friends if they've been attacked by another bird. So although we can't know exactly how animals are feeling, we can identify behaviour that suggests friendship is not solely a human trait. So, I think it's time for a tea break. Now, I don't drink that much tea. I probably drink, the average amount that a British person would drink, which is 2, maybe 3 pots of tea a day. But every time I make tea, I'm always thinking to myself, should the tea or the milk go in first? Well, it depends on who you ask. The British Standards Institute, or the BSI, has a 10-page report on the right way to make a cup of tea, and it says you should put the milk in first. Chemical engineer Dr. Andrew Stapley agrees. His 2002 study found that adding cold milk to hot tea can heat the milk unevenly and spoil the taste. But that's by no means everyone's view. In George Orwell's 1946 essay, A Nice Cup of Tea, he argued for tea first, so that you can add just the right amount of milk. The makers of Yorkshire tea, PG Tits, and Tetley all think so too. If you're making tea in a mug rather than a teapot, they say you should pour the hot water onto the tea bag first, as putting the milk in first gets in the way of a proper brew. Tea and milk weren't always an obvious pairing. In China, people have been drinking tea on its own for 5,000 years, and even now the BSI provides guidelines for tea with or without milk. Tea didn't reach Britain until the 1600s, and was initially taken as a medicine, before it was popularised as a drink by Catherine of Braganza, the Portuguese wife of King Charles II. In those days it was only for the rich, and it was so expensive that it was kept under lock and key. The first person to suggest adding milk was an English tea merchant called Thomas Garway. In around 1670, he put out an advertisement listing all the health benefits of drinking tea. Adding milk, he said, helped to avoid loose bowels. Tea went on to become the essence of Britishness, so much so that when King George VI became the first reigning monarch to visit the US in 1939, President Roosevelt took the trouble to provide the royal party with London water, which was devised by an American chemical manufacturer, Pets Laboratories, so that they could drink tea that tasted just like it did at home. But whatever water you use, tea making is ultimately a matter of personal preference, from your favourite brand and most beloved mug to your choice of accompanying biscuits. Please don't write in. While that settles it, I get to choose exactly how I make my cup of tea. glass of milk. Cheers. So we might not be able to agree on which way round you put the tea and the milk, but I think we can all agree that you should never make it as weak as I just did. So now that I've got my tea, I'm really craving some biscuits. Of course I've got some. Are they nice biscuits or nice biscuits? Well, so it used to be nice due to their nice taste, but when Queen Victoria visited the French Riviera in 1882 and took the biscuits with her, the pronunciation was officially changed to Nice, like the French city of Nice, which rhymes with geese. However, even after 150 years, 80% of people still pronounce the name the old way. So officially they're Nice biscuits, but you can call them nice if you like. Lovely. I think it's time for our final entry. Which is, we don't have Coke. Is Pepsi okay? In 2004, American neuroscientist Samuel McClure and his team wired people up to a brain scanner and gave them both brands of cola without revealing which was which. They found that the pleasure centers in the brain were more likely to light up when subjects were given Pepsi. However, when the participants were told what they were drinking, the brain scans showed the opposite. It turns out that how much we like a drink depends on a combination of what it actually tastes like and what prior information we have about the brand. And that's a lot of people who say that they prefer Coke actually prefer the taste of Pepsi. For those people, accepting a glass of Pepsi in the pub will be fine, but it would have been better if the bartender had never asked, "Is Pepsi okay?" in the first place. So I like to think that I can tell the difference between the two. So I think we should put it to the test. I've got some Pepsi. And some Coke. And 2 glasses. I'm going to ask someone to mix these up for me. Okay. I can't tell the difference visually, but I'm going to try this one first. Okay. Now this one. I prefer Coke, and I think that one's Coke, that one's Pepsi. Wait, seriously? Well, okay, that's a blow to my ego then. That's all we've got time for. Thank you for joining me for this QI video. I hope you found it relaxing, or at the very least interesting. Thank you. Goodbye. Oh, done. Nice. Was that genuinely not Coke?